Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's finish off Leviticus and on to Numbers. If I remember correctly, Numbers is supposed to be them actually going to the land of Israel. If I remember correctly, it's either that or I'm thinking of Deuteronomy. It's one or the other, but I think it's going to be one of those two. But let's just continue with this because I actually looked at all this and it's a lot of reading that we're going to be doing for the last parts of Leviticus. So, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll just get started and finishing off Leviticus on chapter 24. Is it 24? Yeah, 24, because the last one was 23. All right, let's just get this started. The Lord said, the Lord said to Moses, "Command the people of Israel to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, and keep the lamps burning continually. This is the lampstand that makes it in the tabernacle in front of the inner curtain that shields the Ark of the Covenant. Aaron must keep the lamps burning in the Lord's presence all night. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation. Aaron and the priest must tend to the lamps on, on the pure gold lampstand continually in the Lord's presence. You must bake 12 flat loaves of bread from choice flour, using flour quarts of 4 for each loaf. Place place the bread before the Lord on the pure gold table and arrange the loaves in 2 stacks and the 6 loaves of each stack. Put some pure fragrance near each stack and serve as a representative offering, a special gift presented to the Lord. Each Sabbath day this bread must be laid out before the Lord as a gift from the Israelites. It is an ongoing expression of eternal covenant. The loaves of bread will belong to Aaron and his descendants, who must eat them in the sacred place, for they are most holy. It is a permanent right of the priest to claim the portion of special gifts presented to the Lord. The day One day a man who had an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father, excuse me, came out of the tent and got into a fight with one of the Israelite men. During the fight, the son of the son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name of the Lord with a curse. So the man was brought to Moses for judgment. His mother was a Samiath, the daughter of Darbi of the tribe of Dan. They kept the man in custody till the will in the matter in the Lord's will in the matter should become clear to them. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Take the blasphemer outside the camp and tell those who heard the curse to lay their hands on their head, and then let the entire community stone him to death. Say to the people of Israel who curse their God will be punished for their sin. Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be stoned to death by the community of Israel. And any native born Israelite or foreigner among you who blasphemes in the name of the Lord must be put to death. Anyone who takes another person's life must be put to death. Anyone who kills another person's animal must pay in full price a live animal for a animal that was killed." I lost my place there for a second. Anyone who injures another person must be dealt with accordingly to the injury affected. A fracture for a fracture, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Wherever Whatever anyone does to injure another person must be paid back in kind. Whoever kills an animal must pay for it in full. But whoever kills another person must be put to death. This is the same standard applies for both the native born Israelites and to the foreigners living among you. I am the Lord your God. After Moses gave all these instructions to the Israelites, they took the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him to death. The Israelites did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Oh, dang. A little bit of a water break. I've been reading a lot. Ah, it's good to hydrate yourself while you're reading. While Moses was on Mount Sinai, the Lord said to him, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you have entered the land I am giving you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath rest before the Lord every seventh year. For 6 years you must plant your field." Oh, I read that as like they have to rest for an entire year. Oh, sorry. I read that and I really thought that God said, "Oh, on the seventh year you must rest the entire year." Yikes. For 6 years you must plant your fields and prune your vine your vineyards and harvest your crops. But during the seventh year of the land you must have a Sabbath year of complete rest. Wait, what? It is the Lord's Sabbath. Do not plant your fields or prune your vineyards during that year. Do not store any of the crops that you have grown on your own and gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. The land must have a year of complete rest. Oh, okay, that's what he meant by that. I thought they meant by they're not allowed to do any work. Oh, that would have been bad. But you must eat wherever the land produces on it on its own during the Sabbath. This applies to you, your female servants, your hired workers, and the temporary residents who live with you. Your livestock and wild animals in your land will also be allowed to eat whatever the land produces. In addition, you must count off 7 Sabbath years, 7 sets of 7 years. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. Adding up 49 years in all. Oh wait, no. For some reason, when I read 49 years, I was thinking the amount of times Jesus was whipped. But no, that was 39 times. Huh. I thought that was a connection to like the amount of times Jesus was whipped this, for each one of those years. I think that might be a connection. I don't know. You can correct me on that one. Then, on that day of the Day of Atonement, in the fifth 50th year, blow the ram's horn, blow ram's horn, loud and long throughout the land. Hmm. Set this era apart as holy, a time to proclaim freedom throughout the land for all the people, for all who live there, and it will be jubilee, and it'll be a jubilee year for you when each of you may return to the land that belonged to your ancestors and return to your own clan. The 50th year will be a jubilee for you. During that year, you must not plant your fields or store any of your crops that grows on their own, and don't gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. It will be a jubilee year for you, and you must keep it holy. But if you must eat whatever the land produces on its own, in the year of Jubilee, each of you may return to the land that belongs to your ancestors. When you make an agreement with your neighbor to buy or sell property, you may, you must not take advantage of each other. When you buy land from your neighbor, the price you pay must be based on the number of years since the last Jubilee. The seller must set the price by taking into account the number of years remaining till the next year of Jubilee. The more years till the next number of Jubilee, the higher the price. The fewer the years, the lower the price. After all, the person selling the land is actually selling you a certain number of harvests. Show your fear of God by not taking advantage of each other. I am the Lord your God. If you want to live in securely securely in your land, follow my decrees and obey my regulations. Then the land will yield large crops, and you will eat your fill and live securely in it. But if you but you must ask but you might ask, what will we eat during the 7th year, since we do not allow to plant or harvest crops that year? Be assured that I will send my blessing for you on the 6th year, so that the land will produce a crop large enough for 3 years. When you plant your fields in the 8th year, you will you will still be eating from the large crop from that 6th year. In fact, you will still be eating from that large crop when the new crop harvest is in the 9th year. The land must never be sold on a permanent basis, for the land belongs to me. You are only foreigners and tenant farmers working for me. With every purchase of the land, you must grant the seller the right to buy it back. If anyone who if any one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell some of the family land, then a close relative should buy it back for him. If there is no close relative to buy the land, the person who sold it gets enough money to buy it back. He then has the right to redeem it from the one who bought it. The price of the land will be discounted according to the number of years till the next year of your Jubilee. In this way, the original owner will return to its land, to the land. I don't know why I said that backwards. I thought I said that bad, but I was right. But if the original owner cannot afford to buy back the land, it will remain with the new owner till the next year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee year, the land must not return to the original owner. Wait, it must return to the original owners, so they can return their family land. Anyone who sells a house inside a walled town has the right to buy it back for a year after its sale. During that year, the seller retains the right to buy it back, but if it if it is not bought back within a year, the sale of the house within the walled town cannot be reversed. It will become a permanent property of the buyer. It will be returned to the original owner in the year of Jubilee. But a house in a village, a settlement without forbidden walls, will be treated like a property courtside. I don't know why I kept saying courtyard. Such a house must may be bought back. Oh, that I hit my keyboard on accident. And a settlement, uh, such such a house may be bought back at any time, and it must be returned to the original owner in Jubilee year. The Levites always have a right to buy back a house that has sold within the town, to all, and any property that is sold by the Levites, all the houses within Levitical towns must be returned in the year of Jubilee. After all, the houses of towns reserved in Levites are the only property they own in all of Israel. All Israel. The open parts land around the Levitical towns may never be sold. It is their permanent possession. If any one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and cannot support himself, support him as you will support a foreigner or a temporary resident, and will allow him to live with you. Do not charge interest or make a profit in his expense. Instead, show your fear of God by letting him live with you as a relative. Remember, do not charge interest on the money you have lent him, and do not make a profit on food you sell him. I am the Lord your God. I brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan, and will be your God. If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell himself to you, do not treat him as a slave. Treat him instead as a hired worker or a temporary resident who lives with you, and he will serve you only till the year of Jubilee. At that time, he and his children will no longer be obligated to you, and they will return to their clans and go back to the land originally allotted to their ancestors. The people of Israel are my servants, who I have brought out of the land of Egypt, so they may never be sold as slaves. Show your fear of God by not treating them harshly. However, they may purchase a male or female slaves from among the nations around you. You may also purchase the children as temporary residents who live among you, including those who have been born in the land. You may treat them as your property, passing them around on your children as a permanent inheritance. You may treat them as slaves, but you must never treat your fellow Israelites this way. Support foreigner Support a foreigner, a temporary resident becomes rich while living among you. If any of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell themselves to such a foreigner or a member of a family, they still retain the right to be bought back, even after they have been purchased. They may be bought back by a brother or an uncle or a cousin. In fact, anyone who has extended family may buy them back. They may also redeem themselves if they have a proposed precept. Excuse me. They will negotiate the price of their freedom of the person they have bought them, and the price will be based on the number of years from the time of they were sold to the next year of the jubilee. Whatever it costs to hire a worker for the period of time in many years, if many years still remain till the jubilee, they will repay the proportion of what they have received, for they have sold them, for they sold themselves. If any, if only a few years remain till the year jubilee, they will repay small amounts for the recommendation. The foreigner must treat them as worker hired on a yearly basis. You must not allow a foreigner to treat any of your fellow Israelites harshly. If an Israelite has been bought back by the time of Jubilee arrives, they and their children must be set free at that time, for the people of Israel belong to me. They are my servants who I have brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Oh, I'm going to get more into that about the quote unquote slavery thing, but I'm going to get into that after I read these two. Do not make idols or set up carving images or sacred pillars or scripture or inscribed stones in the land so you may worship them. I am the Lord your God. You must keep my Sabbath day of rest, and I will show relev- reverence for my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If you follow my decrees, and are careful to obey my commands, I will send you to the seasonal rains. I will send you the seasonal rains. The land will then yield its crops, and the trees of the field will produce their fruit. Your threshing season will overlap with the grape harvest, and your grape harvest will overlap with the season of planting grain. You will you will eat your fill and live secretly in your land. I will give you peace in the land, and you'll be able to sleep with no cause for fear. I will rid the land of wild animals and keep your enemies out of the land. In fact, you will chase down your enemies and slaughter them with your swords. 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 of you will chase 10,000. All your enemies will fall beneath your swords. I will look favorably upon you, making you fertile and multiply your people, and I will fulfill my covenant with you. You will have such sur- surplus of crops that you will need to clear out the old grain to make room for the new harvest. I will live among you and will not displease you. I will walk among you. I will be your God. I will, and will be, and you will be my people. Again, why do I keep reading ahead like that? I am the Lord your God who have brought you out of the land of Egypt, so you would not no longer be their slaves. I broke the yoke of slavery for your necks, so you can walk with your heads held high. However, if you do not listen to me or obey these commands, and if you break my covenant by rejecting my decrees, treating my regulations with contempt, and refusing to obey my commands, I will punish you. I will bring I will bring sudden terrors upon you, wasting disease and burning fevers that will cause your eyes to fail and your eye to be ebbed away. Oh, I don't know what ebbed is. EBB. You will plant your crops in vain because of your enemies will eat them. I will turn I will turn against you, and you will be defeated by your enemies. Those who hate those who hate you will rule over you, and you will run even when there's no one chasing you. And if in spite of all this you still disobey me, I will punish you 7 times over for your sin. I will break your proud spirit by making the skies as unyielding as iron, and the earth as hard as bronze. All your work will be for nothing, for your land will yield no crops, and your trees will bear no fruit. Even if even then you remain hostile towards me and refuse to obey me, I will inflict disasters on you 7 times over for your sin. I will send wild animals that will rob you of your children and destroy your livestock. Your numbers Your numbers will dwindle, and your roots will be deserted. And if you fail to learn the lesson and continue your hostility towards me, then I myself will be hostile towards you. I will personally strike you with calamity 7 times over for your sin. I will send armies against you to carry out the curse of my covenant you have broken. When you run to your towns for safety, I will send a plague to destroy you there. And you will be handed over to your enemies. I will destroy your food supplies so that 10 women will need only one oven to bake bread for their families. They will ration your food by weight, and though you have food to eat, you will not be satisfied. If, in spite of all of this, you still refuse to listen and still remain hostile towards me, then I will give you a full vent on my hostility. I myself will punish you 7 times over for your sin. Then you will eat the flesh of your own sons and daughters. I will destroy your pagan shrines and knock down your places of worship. I will leave your lifeless corpse in a pile on top of your lifeless idols and despise you. I will make your cities desolated and destroy your places of pagan worship. I have no I will take no pleasure in your offerings that you should be pleasing that should be a pleasing aroma to me. Yes, I myself will desolate your land, and your enemies who come to occupy will be appalled at what they see. I will scatter you among the nations and bring you out my sword against you and bring my sword out against you. Your land will become desolate, and your cities will lie in ruins. Then the last land will enjoy its neglected Sabbath years as it lies desolated, while you are in exile in the land of your enemies. Then the land that we will finally rest and enjoy its Sabbath it missed. As long as the land lies in ruins, it will enjoy the rest and will never allow to take another seventh year while you live in it. And those and for those who survive, I will demoralize you in your land and your enemies, and I will live in such fear, and you will live in such fear that the sound of a leaf driven in the wind, will send you fleeing. You will run as you thought fleeing from a sword. Wait, you will run as through fleeing from my sword, and you will fall even with no one presses you. Though no one is chasing you, you will stumble over each other as thought as through fleeing from my sword. You have no power to stand against your enemies. I will die you will die among the foreign nations, and be devoured in the land of your enemies. Those of you who survive all will waste your enemies' lands because away your enemies' lands because of their sins and their sins of their ancestors. But the last of my people will confess their sins and the sins of their ancestors for betraying me and being hostile towards me. When I have turned hostility back on you and brought you out of the land of your enemies, then last their stubborn hearts will become humble and they will pay for their sins. Then I will remember my covenant with Jacob and my covenant with Isaac and my covenant with Abraham. and I will remember the land, for the land must be abandoned to enjoy its years of Sabbath rest, as it lies in desert in desert. At last the people will pay for their sins, for they have continually rejected my regulations and despised my decrees. But despise all this, and I will utterly reject and despise them while they are in exile in the land of your enemies. I will not cancel my covenant with them by wiping wiping them out, wiping them out, for I am the Lord your God. For there are stakes. I will remember my ancient covenant with their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt in sight of all the nations. I might be their God, and all the nations that I might be their God. I am the Lord. These are my decrees, regulations, instructions that the Lord has given through Moses on the Mount Sinai as evidence of the relationship between himself and the Israelites. Huh, that's crazy to be honest. Yeah. Damn, this thing shocked me. Last chapter. The Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. If anyone makes a special vow to dedicate someone to the Lord by paying a value of that person, here is a scale of values that are values to be used. A man between the ages of 20 and 60 is valued at 50 shells shells of silver as measured by of the sanctuary shell. A woman of that age is valued at 30 shells of silver. A boy between the ages of 5 and 20 are valued at 20, yeah, 20, value at 20th shells of silver. A girl that age is valued at 10 shell of silver. A boy between the ages of 1 month to 5 years is valued at 5 shells of silver. A girl of that age is valued at 3 shells of silver. A man older than 60 is valued as at 15 shells of silver. A woman of that value is 10 shells of silver. If you desire so much as If you desire to make such a vow but cannot afford to pay the required amount, take the person to the priest. He will determine the amount for you to pay based on what you can afford. If the vow involves giving an animal to that is acceptable as an offering to the Lord, any of the gifts of the Lord will be considered holy. You may not you may not exchange or substitute it for another animal, neither a good animal for a bad one, nor a bad animal for a good one. But if you do not exchange one animal for another, then both of the original animal and its substitute will be considered holy. If your vow involves an unclean animal, one will not be accepted as an offering to the Lord. Then you must bring an animal to the priest. He will he will assess its value and his assemble assemble will be final, whether high or low. If you want to buy back an animal, you must pay the value set up by the priest plus 20%. If someone decorates or dedicates a house to the Lord, the priest will come to assess its value. The priest will assessment will be final, whether low or high. If the person who dedicates the house wants to buy it back, he must pay the value set by the priest plus 20%. Then the house will be his. If anyone dedicates to the Lord a price of his family property. Its value will be assessed according to to the amount of seed required to plant 50 shekels of silver for a field with 5 bristles and barley seed. If the field dedicated to the Lord in the year Jubilee, then the entire assembly will be applied. But if the field is dedicated after the year of Jubilee, the priest must assess the land's the land's value in proportion to the number of years left until the next year of Jubilee. Its assessment value is reduced each year. If the person who dedicated the field wants to buy it back, he must pay the value set by the priest plus 20%. Then the field will again be legally his. But if he does not want to pay it back and it is not sold to anyone else, the field will no longer be bought back. When the fields when the is released in the year of Jubilee, it will be holy, a field specifically set apart to the Lord for the Lord. It will become the property of the priest. If anyone dedicates to the Lord a field he has purchased, but which is not part of his property value, the priest will assess the value based on the number of years left for the next year Jubilee. On the on that day, he must give an assessment value of the land as a sacred domain, a donation to the Lord. In the year Jubilee, the field must be returned to the person from whom he purchased it, and the field who inherited it as a family property. All the payments must be measured by its weight of the sanctuary shield, which equals 20 garma. You may not dedicate your firstborn animal to the Lord. For firstborn of your calf, sheep, or goat already belong to him. However, you may buy back the firstborn for ceremonially unclean animals by paying the priest assessment of its worth plus 20%. If you do not buy it back, the priest will sell it and it will be assessed at value. However, anything special set apart for the Lord, whether a person or an animal or a family property, you must never be sold or bought back. Anyone devoted in his ways should be set apart as holy and belong to the Lord. A person specifically set apart for destruction may be bought back, such as a person that must be put to death. 1/10 of the produce of the land, whether grains of the field or fruits from the trees, belong to the Lord and must be set apart to him as holy. If you want to buy back the Lord's tenth of grain or fruit, you must pay its value plus 20%. Count off every 10th animal from your herd or flock and set them apart for the Lord as holy. You may not pick or choose between good or bad animals, and you may not substitute another for another. But if you do not exchange one animal for another, substitute will be considered holy and cannot be bought back. These are the commands that the Lord gave through Moses on Mount Sinai for the Israelites. Mamma mia. I could just imagine myself right now being in during those times And hearing all that and forgive me, I am still a little sleepy. And I'm actually gonna go to sleep right after this or something. But yeah, that that is all those rules and a lot of things. A lot of people are going to come up and say something about like they might say something about how the Lord kind of does like slaves in this, but the thing is that most of us don't understand his understanding. I mean, there's probably reasons why the Lord wanted it this way. There's things that many of us will never understand of why God did this in the Bible or why did he do that. There's things that we'll understand later on. I think it does explain later on, either in Romans, Corinthians, or somewhere else. But there are reasons why God does these things. And yeah, the slave, it sounds bad. It sounds like God is putting these poor people in poor positions. But he has a reason why he puts people in scenarios that they don't sound good to us. I mean, me reading that about the slaves and how Israelites can not be treated like as harshly as slaves, but the slaves, yes. I will not understand that part. Many of us won't. I mean, God has infinite knowledge and we'll never understand. We'll never understand what God means in all these books. All we could do is just read his word and trust him on what's going to happen later on. That's the best way I can describe this. But other than that, Leviticus, pretty much the law of the Bible and all the rituals, offerings, and stuff like that. And tomorrow's actually Numbers. And I believe Numbers is actually the actual journey that Moses took with the Israelites going through the whole land to finally reach the promised land, which I think it took them 30 years. And a lot of setbacks and a lot of things. But yeah, I can't wait for Numbers. And I'll see you all tomorrow because I don't want to keep you here any longer than this video already is. But thank you, and I'll see you all tomorrow.